Hello everyone, welcome back to today's story. In this video, we follow Tuna and her little son Henry as they rebuild their lives after a terrifying kidnapping incident. Alex steps in, not only protecting them, but also giving gifts that carry deep meaning. A brand new crib for Henry and a wedding dress for Tuna. As Tuna tries it on, she dares to dream of a future where she walks down the aisle with Alex by her side. At the same time, Alex helps her build a taller, stronger fence around the farm, a symbol of safety and hope. Stay tuned until the very end to see how love, trust, and quiet determination transform their small home into a sanctuary. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Your support means the world to us. Inside the wooden house, a warm lamplight flickered, casting a golden halo on baby Henry's tiny face. Tuna cradled him in her arms, her rocking gentle, her gaze filled with the kind of love only a mother could give. Yet behind that love, a shadow lingered, fear that had refused to leave since the day Henry was taken from her. She bent her head closer and whispered, "Henry's hungry. Let mommy feed you." Her words were tender, but they trembled. Like a fragile vow, she repeated more to herself than to him. Alex stood nearby, leaning against the wall, watching in silence. His eyes softened at the sight, his lips curling into a small, almost protective smile. "He's growing so fast," he said, his voice warm, carrying a mix of pride and wonder. He stepped forward, his large hands reaching out a little awkwardly. "Uncle Alex will hold you, okay?" Tuna hesitated for a breath, then slowly placed Henry in his arms. Alex's movements were clumsy at first, but his care was undeniable. Henry yawned, nestling against him, and Alex chuckled, the sound low and full of joy. Tuna watched, her heart tightening. "If it weren't for you, I wouldn't know what to do," she murmured, her voice catching. The fear of losing Henry still pulsed inside her, threatening to surface at any moment. Alex shook his head, his expression firm. "From now on, if anything happens, anything at all, call me. I don't care if it's the middle of the night. I'll be there." The certainty in his tone wrapped around her like a shield. Tuna looked at him, then at Henry, sensing something unspoken binding them together. This wasn't just friendship. It was something deeper, something forged in fear and survival, strengthened by their shared determination to protect the child who had become their world. Night spread its cloak over the farm, the chirping of crickets and the hum of frogs filling the quiet air. Moonlight shimmered across the fish pond where Tuna stood, scattering feed across the rippling surface. She watched the fish rise, mouths opening eagerly. A soft smile touched her lips. "They've grown so much," she whispered, recalling when Alex had first brought them to her. Yet her thoughts quickly strayed back inside the house, to Henry sleeping soundly. Her smile faded as her heart tugged. She turned, stepping back into the wooden home, her eyes immediately finding his tiny form resting peacefully in the crib. Relief washed over her like a tide. "Thank goodness for Alex and the police," she breathed, her hands trembling at the memory. The terror of nearly losing Henry still haunted her, the echo of her own cries ringing in her ears. The house was quiet, the steady hum of the fan the only sound. Tuna sat beside the crib, her eyes glimmering in the dim light. "From now on, I'll protect you with everything I have," she whispered to her son. It was more than a promise. It was a vow carved deep into her soul. Tears welled up, but she blinked them away and stood. She walked toward the chicken coop, scattering feed with steady hands. Each movement was a reclaiming of her strength, an act of defiance against the fear that had tried to consume her. Under the moonlight, Tuna no longer seemed like a fragile, frightened mother. She was becoming something stronger, a woman forged by hardship, driven by fierce love. In Alex's home, lamplight flickered across his mother's face. Alex had just returned, his shoulders sagging with exhaustion, his clothes still dusty from the road. "Mom," he said quietly, "I stayed with Tuna at the farm last night." His mother leaned forward, concern etched into her features. "What happened, my child?" Alex exhaled, recounting the nightmare. He told her how Mrs. Dieu, Tuna's ex-mother-in-law, had taken Henry away without permission. His jaw tightened as he relived it. Tuna was frantic. "I called the police, and thank God they found Henry in time." Relief flickered in his voice, but weariness weighed it down. His mother let out a long sigh, her eyes softening with empathy. Poor girl. She must have been terrified. She paused, studying her son closely. The fatigue was written in his face, in his posture, in the way his voice cracked at the edges. "You've taken on too much. Between your work and helping Tuna. Go rest, Alex. Take care of yourself, too." But Alex shook his head, his eyes drifting toward the farm in his mind. "I can't leave her alone, Mom." His voice was low but steady, carrying the weight of an unshakable vow. His mother gave him a sad, knowing smile. She didn't argue. She understood. Her son's heart had already made its choice. The room fell quiet except for the ticking of the clock, its rhythm echoing Alex's heartbeat, steady and determined. In that silence, two truths coexisted: a mother's worry for her son, and a son's unwavering devotion to protect the family he had found beyond blood. Back at the farm, the crackle of firewood filled the kitchen as steam rose from a pot of boiled chicken. Tuna stood by the stove, stirring gently, her eyes softening as she glanced toward Alex. He knelt nearby, carefully assembling a brand new crib for Henry. "You always think of everything," she said, her voice touched with gratitude. Alex looked up briefly, flashing her a small smile before tightening the last piece. "This will keep Henry safe. He'll sleep better here, and so will you." Tuna's eyes filled with quiet relief as she saw Henry nestled comfortably in the crib. For the first time in many days, peace brushed against her heart. Later, they sat together at the small wooden table, the aroma of food filling the room. Their laughter mixed with the clatter of chopsticks, momentarily pushing back the darkness of the past weeks. Yet amid the warmth, Alex's tone grew serious. "Tuna," he said gently, "about Mrs. Dieu. Maybe you should think about forgiving her. She acted out of longing for her grandson. It doesn't excuse what she did, but forgiveness might give you peace." Tuna froze, her chopsticks stilling midair. Pain flickered in her eyes. Memories of betrayal clashed with older memories, ones where Mrs. Dieu had once shown her care. Slowly, she lowered her gaze. "She once treated me kindly," she whispered, voice trembling. Finally, she nodded. though her eyes glistened. "I'll think about it." The moment was fragile, yet powerful. Dinner was no longer just a meal. It became a bridge, a step toward healing, a spark of hope in the shadows. Later, as Alex prepared to leave, moonlight poured into the doorway, framing him in silver. Tuna stood there, her heart lighter, her voice soft. "Thank you for everything, Alex." He gave her a reassuring smile before walking into the night. The house fell quiet once more, but it no longer felt burdened by fear. It felt stronger, reborn through forgiveness, trust, and the silent bond tying 3 lives together. The following morning, sunlight streamed across the farm, gilding the fields in pale gold. Alex arrived early, sleeves rolled up, determination etched into every line of his face. In his truck lay long planks of wood and sturdy wire mesh. Tuna stepped out of the house. Henry balanced on her hip. Her eyes widened when she saw the supplies. "Alex, what are you planning?" He set down the lumber and gave her a reassuring smile. "I'm rebuilding your fence, higher, stronger. After what happened, I won't let anyone step foot on this farm without your say-so." Tuna's chest tightened. The fear of Henry being snatched still lingered like a shadow. She glanced at the flimsy, low fence that circled her land. It had always seemed enough, until now. "You do all this for us, for Henry, for you," Alex replied, voice steady. "I want you to feel safe here again." His words warmed her more than the morning sun. She watched as he worked, hammering and sawing with practiced movements. Sweat gleamed on his brow, but his resolve never faltered. Henry gurgled happily in Tuna's arms, as if sensing the security being built around them. Tuna set Henry down in his crib and soon joined Alex outside. She held nails, passed tools, and helped lift the planks into place. Working side by side, they rebuilt the boundaries of her world, not just with wood and wire, but with trust and resilience. When the last post was set and the fence stood tall and unyielding, Tuna exhaled deeply. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "For the first time in weeks, I feel like I can breathe again." Alex wiped his hands, smiling faintly. "That's all I wanted." Their eyes met, and for a moment, the world seemed to pause. The tall fence was more than protection. It was a promise, a wall against fear, a silent declaration that she and Henry would never stand alone again. That evening, as dusk painted the sky in streaks of orange and violet, Alex returned with a large box tucked under his arm. Tuna looked up from the porch, puzzled. "What's that?" she asked. Alex grinned mischievously. "You'll see." He carried it inside, setting it gently on the table. Curiosity tugged at Tuna as she untied the ribbon. When she lifted the lid, her breath caught. Inside was a wedding dress, delicate, flowing, the fabric shimmering softly in the lamplight. Her hands trembled as she touched it. "Alex, this is..." Her voice trailed off, overwhelmed. "A gift," he said simply. "I thought, maybe one day, when the time is right, you'll wear it. And maybe..." His voice faltered, suddenly shy. "Maybe I'll be standing at the altar, waiting." Tuna's heart pounded. She lifted the gown against herself, the lace falling gracefully over her frame. For a moment, she was no longer the frightened woman haunted by the past. She was a bride, radiant and hopeful. "Do you like it?" Alex asked, his voice low, almost hesitant. Tears glistened in her eyes. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Unable to resist, she slipped into her room and changed. When she emerged, the gown hugged her softly, its skirt brushing the floor. She twirled shyly, her cheeks flushed. Alex's breath caught in his throat. For a moment, words failed him. Then he whispered, "You look like a dream." Tuna laughed softly, but her voice trembled with emotion. "I hope one day soon I'll stand in a church wearing this with Henry by my side and you waiting for me." It was a confession cloaked in hope, fragile yet bold. Alex stepped closer, his eyes never leaving hers. "That day will come, Tuna. I'll make sure of it." Later that night, when Henry had fallen asleep, Tuna returned to the mirror in her room. She traced the gown's delicate embroidery with her fingers, her reflection glowing in the dim light. In her mind, she saw herself walking down an aisle, Henry toddling with tiny steps, Alex waiting at the altar. The thought filled her with warmth so strong it almost broke her. Yet alongside the hope lingered fear. What if fate tore this dream away? What if the past came back to shatter it? She pressed her hands to her chest, whispering to her reflection, "Please, let this future be real." The next day, life at the farm seemed brighter. With the new fence standing tall, Tuna moved about her chores with renewed energy. She collected eggs, tended to the garden, and laughed when Henry babbled from his crib. The fear that had once shadowed every corner of her home was fading. Alex visited often, bringing supplies, fixing small things around the house, and always finding time to play with Henry. The little boy's giggles filled the air whenever Alex tossed him gently in the air or carried him on his shoulders. To Henry, Alex wasn't just uncle. He was a protector, a constant presence. One afternoon, as they rested under the shade of a tree, Tuna turned to Alex. "I don't know how I'll ever repay you," she said softly. Alex shook his head. "You don't need to. Seeing you and Henry safe, that's all I need." Her eyes shimmered with gratitude, but deep down, a new thought took root. Perhaps she didn't need to repay him in words or deeds. Perhaps her love, her trust, and the family they were slowly building together would be enough. That night, Tuna folded the wedding dress carefully, placing it back into its box. She lingered, her fingers brushing the fabric one last time. "One day," she whispered, "I'll wear you for real." She glanced at Henry, asleep and safe behind the tall new fence, then at the stars glittering beyond her window. For the first time in so long, she allowed herself to believe in a future not haunted by loss, but brightened by love. The farm, once a place of loneliness, had transformed into a haven. Its wooden walls held laughter now. Its nights carried whispers of dreams yet to come. And at the center of it all stood three lives: Tuna, Henry, and Alex, bound together not by chance, but by choice, by resilience, and by a hope stronger than fear. As the moon rose high, silvering the land, Tuna stood at the doorway, gazing out at the fence Alex had built. Beyond it lay a world full of uncertainty, but within its bounds, she felt something she hadn't in years: security, love, and the promise of tomorrow. She closed her eyes, holding the image of herself in the wedding dress close to her heart, her lips curved into a soft smile. "One day," she whispered into the night, "our dream will come true." And in that quiet moment, as the farm settled into peaceful slumber, hope became her strongest armor, and love her guiding light.